Thanks for everybody for being here. Bryan Joy, and I see some family from 35 years ago here, still in my life. High school friends, college friends, associates, political friends. It's just awesome for you guys to come out. I know the traffic was brutal, so thank you. My story, and I like to keep this stuff interactive. I grew up in church, and I always just got bored as heck when they would just talk at me for hours at a time. So it's not really my style. So if you have a question while I'm talking, raise your hand up. I'm going to keep it interactive, and then we'll do some Q&A afterwards. And if you've seen my Facebook posts and Instagram, I'm pretty transparent at this point in my life. I'm 44 years old. I'm from this area. I'm from Cobb County, Cherokee County. Went to Spraberry High School, class of '92, which we've got like a little mini reunion here tonight, which is awesome. University of Georgia Business School, and after that joined the Marines and went into the business world. So I'm from here, and it's just great to be back. And we consider this a launch or a kickoff for the GFaith company and for Guerrilla Faith Ministries. And so there's no better place than in front of people I love. So thank you. So let me get this up. All right, there it is. So I broke this up into 4 quick sections, and I won't speak more than 20, 30 minutes, but I call section 1 the party ends. So I'm 44 years old. For the first age of 18, first time I ever had a drink, I had 18 margaritas. I mean, how abnormal is that? That's crazy, right? Who does that? It was 18 margaritas. And I thought, well, this is pretty fun. I should have had 19, but I fell asleep. So from that moment on, I began chasing really just what I thought was peace, pleasure, calm, happiness, and it manifested more and more into chemicals. Quite frankly, I joined the business world, started making good money. And the margaritas went from house to top shelf. The top shelf went to pills, and the pills went to Coke, and the Coke went to everything else. And I always say, and my daughter's listening, and she's heard this before, and she rolls her eyes. Dad, you're saying this again. I have tried every drug on the planet other than peyote, and that's only because I couldn't find an Indian to sell me peyote. So I would have done it, I just couldn't find it. But it began through really. About 5 years ago, I really began a chase, and I know there's people in here that can relate to that. I don't know who you are, but everyone has something. And it finally ended on a Thursday morning, 2012 rather, when I woke up overdosed in my daughter's bed. So on a Thursday morning, 2012, I woke up overdosed. The paramedics standing over me saying, "I think he's flatlined. I think he's gone." And here I was, cufflinks on the floor, $300 dress shoes in my guest room, and what happened? How did I end up from those margaritas, albeit they were 18, I'll give you that. How did I go from 18 margaritas to a corporate business life, 6 figures over and over and over and over, to the clubs of Buckhead, to after-hours clubs? How did I end up overdosed? What happened? This is not me. I'm like a white-collar guy, right? That happens to blue-collar people. Right. It happens to a lot of people. And so it began a journey of self-discovery. I went through rehab and started the process of sobriety, and it wasn't instant, right? It's a journey. So for any of you who have struggled with any addiction, I don't care if it's food, if it's alcohol, and so it began what became a journey. So section number 1 of my life is the party ends. It doesn't go forever. And so if you're here tonight, or if you're listening on Facebook Live, or you're listening to this on YouTube, and once we load it up there, and if you're in that lifestyle, or if you're dabbling, or if you're thinking about coke or meth or pills or anything else like that, or if you're shooting, I've done it all. If you're shooting up or you're snorting, whatever you're doing, the party ends, and there's so much more purpose God has for your life. So chasing that high and chasing that fun and chasing that excitement and the euphoria is not 1/1,000,000th of what you'll feel when you find Christ. And I'll tell you more about that in a few minutes. So that was the first section of my life. That's a whole chapter. And a lot of people here know me, didn't even know, like, man, I thought you were just kind of glassy-eyed and funny. I was blotto. In between that, I had a successful career and remarkably, surprisingly, a good dad. And you find yourself, so here's me as a kid, right? Just a normal kid with my little sister. Joined the Marine Corps. So I came out of college and went into the Marine Corps Reserves, served here in the reserves here in Marietta, picked up my drink in there as well. So that was all just a piece of it. It was just, right, everywhere I went, I would consume chemicals. And it ended on that morning, that Thursday morning. So chapter 2, so that brings me to about 5 years ago. Chapter 2 I call an unwelcome gift, but not long after that overdose, I started to clean up and get my life together, and I meet an amazing woman, go through a divorce and meet an amazing woman named Camille. And that continues the process of the saving of my life, because quite frankly, I wouldn't have done that well alone. I was dealing with a lot of issues, anxiety, depression. I was really just tormented. So even though I had gotten clean and sober, I was still tormented. And I know there's other veterans in here. People have been through traumatic circumstances, and especially non-veterans too, right? Have been through assault or whatever else. And I was dealing with these anxiety and depression, couldn't sleep. But I met this woman named Camille Chiggy on Match.com. I was just talking to a friend about Match.com back when it was, you're not supposed to talk about it. And I always say, I met her, I got the 1 month free subscription. They got my credit card number. I met her in day 30 before they charged the card, and I ripped it back and I met her for free. So it was a great deal for me. The woman of my life, the woman of my dreams, Lieutenant Colonel Camille Chiggy, did not cost the $19.95 that she was going to cost me. So it was a beautiful thing. Sorry, baby. Sorry. That's how cheap I am. I ripped that card out. So I meet this woman, and we start this courtship, and within, 4 dates, we turn to each other on the couch and say, let's get married. She's very compartmentalized, utilitarian, I am too, and I was banged up and bruised like a misfit toy, and she said, let's get married, and I said, let's get married. So we started the process, got full custody of my daughter, Mia. That's a picture of us at a Phillies game. We were in the Philadelphia area, and things are starting to really look up. So Bryan Joy had this overdose, right? Nobody really knows about it. I mean, these folks over here know about it. You guys know, but let's not talk about it, right? Yeah, okay. He's good now. So nobody knows about it. I'm able to kind of keep it under wraps and get full custody of my daughter because things are so good. I meet this beautiful pilot, and we get married. Here's a picture of us in Jamaica. Like I said, married way up, way up. And so we decide, okay, so now it's 2016. So we're almost current here, right? I told you I wasn't going to talk too long tonight. And we decided, we're in Philadelphia. We're going to build our dream house. We're married. We've got custody of Mia. We want to have more babies. I've got a great job making a ridiculous amount of money. She's got a new job flying in the Pennsylvania area, Philadelphia area. And we decided we're going to build this house. And we go out to Doylestown, Pennsylvania, and we do plans and specs, and we build this custom, beautiful home. The American dream, right? All you need is the little shovel and the pitchfork. We look like the farmer couple. That's right. Everything's great. Everything's great. And we were in the house about 4 nights, and I'm laying down there. Don't forget, I'm clean and sober and happy, and I start hearing footsteps. And talking and footsteps, and it accelerates and gets worse and worse and worse, but I'm the only one hearing it. And I have a history of addiction, and I'm only a few years out of that life, and so you think I'm gonna say anything? No, I got this beautiful wife, I got this beautiful daughter, I've got this wonderful job, I've got this beautiful house. I don't say anything. And the footsteps accelerate to talking. And on September 16th, 2016, so 17th, 18th, a week before my 42nd birthday, I'm sitting on my couch, everyone's asleep, and I look over and the air moves. And I thought, is it like a gas leak? What is that? And then the air moves bigger, and it starts swirling around the room. And I pull up my iPhone and I snap a picture, and I look down and I got the picture. And I don't know what I'm looking at, and things start to get really dark in the house. Really, really dark in the house. And again, I'm not going to say anything because of my background. And one day I'm out in the courtyard in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, out by this house, and I'm taking a walk, and I've got my Christian music in my earbuds because I'm just like, I can out whatever this is. I can Hillsong this out of my life, right? Whatever this is, I'm gonna sing it away. Yeah. And I feel this giant flapping behind my head. And I smell this like sulfur and this leather and this just giant flapping. And I have pictures upon pictures. I started doing, I don't know what it was in me. I started taking pictures in this walk. There's something very dark behind me. And you see, some people see it, some don't. There's this giant wing behind me. What is that wing? There's nothing indigenous to Doylestown, Pennsylvania that's that big. I can promise you that. We were in the suburbs. And there's nothing indigenous to Doylestown, Pennsylvania that smells like sulfur and has a leathery feel as it's flapping around your head. And I thought, I was raised in a Christian home. My dad's a pastor. I read This Present Darkness as a kid. I know how this stuff works. Jeff Croft and I read Revelation by flashlight in 1987. I think I've got a problem. I think there's like demons around me or something. But who are you going to tell that to, right? And so for those of you that have gone through supernatural training, you think, wow, okay, that's pretty cool. You got pictures, but you've all been trained and you know that the enemy is out there, the devil and the demons are out there, and they attack Christians and non-Christians. But I see this, and I get these pictures, and I'm not putting a lot of pictures in this presentation. I've got 93 that are copyrighted. I've got probably, 5,000 hours of video, because at the time I just became obsessed. I'm going to get this, because they're not going to lock me up. I got a beautiful wife, a kid, and a home. I ain't going down. And so I started taking pictures, and a picture my wife took of me just started to feel very oppressed in the house, and I couldn't move, and I'm just sleeping, and family starts to it's you start to feel that rejection. I'll talk about that in a few minutes, and that's part of this process. When there's a spiritual attack on your life, this is what this was. A spiritual attack starts to come on my life. People start to disappear out of your life. It's amazing. And my family disappears, and nobody calls, and only 3 or 4 people start calling, and they're sitting over here right now. And I'm in this giant house, and I end up losing a job, and now I'm in the house all day long. Phyllis knows this story probably almost as good as I do. And that's me, in the middle of the day. And I start calling pastors and preachers, and because I'm a Christian, I was saved at Wildwood Baptist Church in 1986 at a Starlight Crusade with the Stardust and New Song. I'm a Christian, I'm saved, I'm good. So I start calling preachers and ministers. I call the Baptists, I call the Methodists, I call the Episcopalians, I call the non-denominationals, I call the evangelicals, I call the Lutherans, I call the Methodists again. They tell me to pound sand. I say, okay, I'm not Methodist, I get it. And I'm not hitting on them. I call every denomination, and nobody knows what to do because nobody's heard this happening. I finally hook in with, and then me house is getting more and more dark, and I've got pictures of just evil stuff and spirits and evil and demons running around the house, and I've got videos for days that eventually will be a movie and a book, and will teach millions of people about spiritual warfare. But for now, it's a talk. So this is important. But I finally get in touch with the Archdiocese of Philadelphia, and I don't know, we're in the South. Most of us don't know much about the Catholic Church, but the Archdiocese in Philadelphia is one of the biggest archdioceses on the planet, and they have 4 million Catholics in their purview, Jersey, Philadelphia, and part of New York. And I send in pictures, and the Archdiocese calls me back and said, fill out a vetting package. I said, sure. I said, I'm seeing stuff in the house. I'm not crazy. He said, fill out this package. The receptionist, it was like 22 pages deep. I filled it all out, medical records, health records, everything. I sent it all into the Archdiocese. Within a day, one of the Pope's 400 at the Vatican calls me and says, I'm coming to your house. I said, oh man, okay, so maybe I'm not crazy. Like the Pope's people, the Vatican now knows what's going on. And so they dispatch Monsignor Ralph Chifo, who is a hero in the faith, and all he does is go through the row homes and slums of Philadelphia, and he casts out demons and works with people and tries to help them in spiritual issues. And he becomes a close friend. He comes to my house. He performs the full rite of exorcism, right? Can you imagine that? I'm a Baptist kid from Ackworth, Georgia. And he puts out this long tablecloth and vestments and these women and these assistants, and it's in our house. It's the middle of the day. And of course, my daughter walks in from from middle school. I'm like, hey, baby. You know? It's like Rosemary's Baby in here. Don't worry about me. Hey, Dad, cheerleader outfit. Go watch iCarly. I'll be right there. But this great man of the faith believes me, and he starts to pray, and they send over and over, day after day, they send people, and they do the rite of exorcism in the home, and nothing changes. It's like he'd come in with the cavalry, literally a black car, SUV would come in, they'd whip in, and they'd come in, and they'd pray, and he'd let me cry at him, and then they would leave, and it's like I just pissed off whatever was there. Excuse my language. It's like if I was an abused spouse and I called the cops, and the cops came out, and that night, boy, that husband or wife was not happy. It was worse. So I thought, okay, the Catholic thing is not working. The Catholic thing, it's like almost like throwing vinegar on a windshield. It cleans it, and then it gets dirty again. I said, okay, I have a problem here, but it's getting worse in the house. And so we call this section the Unwelcome Gift, the gift of sight. And I'm asking myself, am I crazy? Is there a medical explanation? But it's real. And I go through vetting, and I go through doctors and do brain scans, and they all say you're fine. And I finally go to a place I'll go back to that, where they check me out even more. But this priest kind of puts his hands up and says, we can't help you. I'm sorry. If you want to convert to Catholicism, I'm happy to help you more. But he was a sweet man, but he couldn't do anything else. They put their hands up and left, and now I'm alone in this house, and I'm not working, and things are getting really bad. And finally, I'm out making a grocery run, and I start to see things around the town. And so I realized, wait a minute, it may not be the house. Maybe it's just the fact that I'm seeing into this other world now. And this picture is one of the first I ever caught. I don't know if you can see that. It's pretty dark, right? So I'll brighten it up. That's out the back windshield of my car. That's out the back windshield of my Mazda in a Doylestown parking lot, right? It's pretty gruesome stuff. It's like this demonic character that followed me around. And I got that picture and I said, we've got a problem. I'm a man of faith and that thing ain't leaving. So that's a copyrighted picture that will be in a book and a movie, and it's also we've got reports of it changing people's lives because people are saying, I don't want that in my life. And so there's a reason. I'm not showing these to you to be gratuitous. I'm not showing these to you to be a shock and awe. I'm not trying to sell a book. I'm not asking for money. What I want you to see is that there's an enemy here. And if you're a Christian person of faith, there's a supernatural world around us. There's an enemy here. And if you're working and doing things for Christ, the enemy and the devil wants to take you down. So this is why we have spiritual warfare. Because it doesn't matter if you can't see that thing is here. I see them every day. And it's now my mission and job with our team to train Christians around spiritual warfare. And that's what we're going to do. And we're going to teach millions of people around what's going on. The enemy has run without any kind of repercussions for thousands of years, and that's over because now we've got evidence, and we're going to start telling more and more people. So we'll come back to that in a few minutes. Not that picture, that's enough, right? So finally those things start happening, and I go to a psychiatrist, and my wife says, we think we need to get you checked out because I think we need to finish the vetting so everybody knows you're healthy, right? So I get checked in by the psychologist to an insane asylum called the Horsham Clinic. Don't forget, I have all these pictures, and I'm running around saying, I got pictures. And my wife believes me, but the doctors are saying, okay, we're going to check in just to complete this process. So I go to this place called the Horsham Clinic. And I'm there for 2 days, and I'm surrounded by people. It's like a 1930s movie of an insane asylum. This business executive is now checked in. None of my friends even know. I'm in this place. And day 2, I'm sitting there going, this is what has happened to my life. And the director, Catholic man who runs the whole facility, multi-million-dollar facility, calls me out of class. He says, come here, son. I want to talk to you. Oh, cool. Okay. I guess I'll just, whatever. Go down to his office, and this director says, I've looked through your whole file. And by this time, guys, the file is like this. And everything is checked out. Brain scans, healthy, psychological, man of faith. He says, I believe you. And we're kicking you out of here. I said, oh, man. All right. So this Catholic man with Harvard degrees on the wall says, I believe you, and he comes hug me. And I'm like, all right. I'm not oppressed. I'm not toxic. I'm not, there's not something wrong with me. He goes, I believe you. I don't know anything about it. I just know. And so he brings in the next day his assistant who's Indian. I think she's Hindi. And she says, I've been Googling all night. And in the accent, she says, I believe you too. I don't believe in your Christ, but I believe your story. Get out of here. We're kicking you out. No more insurance for you. So I come out of Horsham Clinic, but I have a problem. And that is that I'm still seeing things at a rapid pace. And the pictures are getting worse and worse and worse. And I've got videos. And now I've run out of options. Horsham Clinic, Ivy League educated people have said I'm healthy. Psychologists have said they believe me. Every denomination under the sun has said, we can't help you. Some have thrown holy water at the house. That didn't work. And I think, you know what? And I'm developing clearly what they did diagnose me with at Horsham Clinic is PTSD, because I'm now doing this. And it's true PTSD. So while it wasn't PTSD from a battle situation, it's worse because everywhere I go, I'm seeing this stuff. And so finally, late February, I decided, you know what? I've got a Mossberg shotgun. I'm out. This is true. I can't deal with this anymore. And I say that because there's people listening and there's people here, and they may not have such a dramatic story. But suicide is rampant. We have 22 veterans a day. Now, while my story may not have been birthed on a battlefield, it's birthed in trauma, and there's a spiritual help for you. So if you're hearing this and you've had suicidal thoughts, or you've been diagnosed with PTSD, that there's a spiritual process we'll talk about in a few minutes that absolutely help you if you've got anxiety, depression, agoraphobia, suicidal, addiction, alcoholism, anything that you have in your life. There's a spiritual answer, and we're going to talk more about that in a few minutes. But I finally say, okay, I'm going to end it. I'm going to end it. I remember thinking in 48 hours, if this stuff doesn't go away, I'm done. And I've never been the friendliest guy in high school, right? Friendliest guy in high school, the happiest guy in the world. Every picture of me is this giant smile, and I was about to end my life. And finally, I get connected through a family member to Phyllis Whalen up here in North Georgia. And the rumor is, through some folks at a church locally here in Mount Perrin Church, that there's kind of a secret, it's really a secret, this ministry that helps people that are experiencing spiritual affliction, whether it be just a spiritual attack or addiction, or they're depressed and they don't know why, or they're going to kill themselves, and they think there could be some spiritual attack on their life. And I said, oh, I got that. I got pictures for days. So, and so I reach out to Phyllis Whalen, and she says, get on a plane, and I don't do it. And I go in my basement, I lay down, and it's like I can't move, and I don't show to Phyllis Whalen. I book a flight, we pay $800, and I lay there, and it's like I can't move on the couch. And my best friend Jeff Croft is calling me, where are you? And just checking in on me, and I don't move. And I don't know why I don't move. And I think, okay, now it's one day I'm going to kill myself, and I miss the appointment for deliverance. And within a day, this one bird dogs me, somehow gets me out of a basement in Doylestown, and my lovely wife pulls me out and says, we're going to rebook the ticket, and we rebooked down there. But don't forget, so every family member I have has bailed at this point. I'm experiencing spiritual warfare. There's a time down the road where I lash out and scream at them, and they're not, they don't want to be in my life. I mean, most of my family is 20 miles from here. There's not a single one here tonight. So there's damage from this type of stuff, right? And there's forgiveness that needs to happen. It hasn't. But my wife tells me, you're acting wrong. Your family's right. You're acting wrong. You need to get help. And so we go to this place called White Columns up here in Kingston, and I meet who is now my hero, Pastor David Asante, an African man from Ghana, who I'll be spending hours with tomorrow morning to learn more about how to become more like Pastor David. And he spent a better part of a day with me. James Trevette was there, Phyllis Whalen, Britt Henderson, and Pastor David. And I went through a process. Now, this is where it gets personal for you guys, too. Anyone listening, I went through a process called deliverance. And this is where it gets happy, too. So we're done with the zombies, don't worry. This is where it gets really happy, because I filled out what they did differently. The Catholic Church and the holy oil and all this stuff wasn't working. But what they did is they sent me a questionnaire that was 7 pages long that accounted for every event in my life. Every person I'd slept with, every drug I'd ever done, every place I'd been, overseas, in country, whatever I'd done, my parents, their parents, inherited stuff, and I filled out this long questionnaire, all Bryan Joy, the most personal stuff. We all have 7 pages worth, by the way, everyone in this room, so don't look at me like you don't. We all do. So I fill out all the stuff, and I give it to this pastor, and I show up, and we start talking, and they start praying over me. And, people later said that things were flying off of me. And I start speaking in tongues. And James was there. He's nodding and smiling. And I'm a Baptist kid. Baptists don't do tongues. I ain't doing that. I was told by many people growing up that they're the least of the gifts. They're wrong. They're not the least of the gifts. The tongues are a beautiful language between you and God. And so Pastor David lays hands on me. Things are falling off of me. And I started just praising God in tongues, and I see all this stuff flying. And Phyllis has her own account of this because she was in the room. And all of a sudden, something shifts. And that's 24 hours from in that house. So actually, 24 hours from landing in Kingston and driving from the Atlanta airport on March 20th to March 21st. 24 hours later, I went for a run the next day. And that's the power of Christ. So that's the power of Christ. And it doesn't have to be this. So my story is very dramatic, right? My story is dramatic is for a reason, with pictures, because it's meant to get people's attention. But we all have something in our life. But that's the power of Christ, and that's the power of the Holy Spirit. And so we start, and there's Pastor David, my little guy. My hero, my guy, one picture. So I come home from this deliverance, and I'm a new man, and things are not perfect, but don't forget, I got to go back to this house. It's like Amityville. It's place. So I'm like, whoa, But I'm on cloud nine. I'm fired up. I've been given oil and prayers, and I've got swagger. And I still have the swagger today, even more. But I come home and I start thinking, okay, we sell the house and we get out. And my wife's amazing. We just sell the house. We make $218 on that, out of a $500,000 house. Amazing, right? We got out from it. And I start to think, we're in an apartment, trying to figure out what we're going to do next. And I start to think to myself, what can we do with this? Because I can see all this stuff and I can see it on Christians. And when I drive past a church building, I see them all. I see demons all on top of the building. To this day, I saw one all on top of the buildings. I see more on top of church buildings and houses of worship than I do on top of strip clubs and nightclubs. I don't know what that means. I'm just telling you, now I've seen it and now I know Christians are under attack. Because if they're in churches and they're on pastors and they're on Christians and they're on televangelists that are good men by all accounts, and they're on people that I know and family and friends, what am I going to do with this, Bryan? You've seen behind the veil. What are you going to do with it? We're going to do something big with it. And so I'm talking to my wife in this house, and we got to start a ministry. We got to teach spiritual warfare. We have to, because I can see it. I'm looking at it right now. We have to teach Christians how to arm themselves, like Ephesians 6 says, Paul, arm ourselves with the armor of God, go out with confidence, live a life of faith, obedience, but let God fight your battles, right? We're not trying to be dramatic here, but let God fight our battles. But what can we do with it? And my father-in-law, George Chiggy, a Green Beret, war hero, he says, call it Guerrilla Faith. And I said, well, Pop, I like the name. It's cool. You're a Green Beret. I was just a reservist, so you're much tougher than me. So, okay, I'll name it Guerrilla Faith. And I said, why? He said, and Camille and I looked it up. It's the definition of guerrilla is an irregular warfare where a small group uses tactics to fight a larger, more traditional force. So if Christians have been if we've just been at church and run around and doing our thing, and we've been experiencing addiction and alcoholism and anxiety and panic disorders and divorce and angst and pornography addiction, if we've been under attack, we need to arm ourselves up and fight back, and that's guerrilla faith. My wife calls it a church. She's kind of funny with this, but it's FUBU. It's for us and by us. So it's a non-traditional church. You won't, definitely not something you'll find in a building. But we've decided that as I read more and more about the faith of Christ, that He wants us to go after the outcasts, the misfits, the broken toys like me. And so Guerrilla Faith is a faith for people that are not comfortable, maybe inside a church building. Maybe they are. Churches do great work, and some of my favorite heroes of the faith are pastors, but not everyone fits into a church building, and so we're going to go after all the broken ones. And that's the ministry of Guerrilla Faith. So we're established 501c3. We're working on some material. We've got some baseline material for healing and deliverance. We're going to start with veterans and others. But my heart is for people that have addiction, have been at war, have been through multiple divorces, have been, name it. If you've got something, we're here to help you if it's something you're not finding in your traditional church. So this is a quick 2-minute video.
And one afternoon, about 5 o'clock, I'm running on the treadmill, and I feel like a new man. And I hear what I now know is the Holy Spirit. And he says, build an app. And I said, what? Build an app? The church is very fragmented. He goes, build an app that connects people. And I go to my phone and on treadmill and I'm looking at the apps. Build an app that connects people of faith. I start whiteboarding out this app. And I have no tech background at all. And here's part 2, as he says, as I'm whiteboarding out this app, he says it's going to be a Christian app and you're going to give 70% back to ministries that help my heroes in the military. And we're going to help them with deliverance and spiritual warfare training. And I'm writing all this down. I still got the piece of paper. And it was only about a year and a half ago. I take it to my wife and she says, okay, let's roll. And so we start the process. The Holy Spirit's guiding me. I have a few people help coach me. Now we have a plan for an app, and he names it GFaith. And it's going to do a lot of cool things. It's going to connect people. It's going to be a source for people with addiction and alcoholism. And God is downloading all of this in me, this formerly alcoholic, addicted, overdosed, bankrupt, demon-seeing banker. He's giving me all this stuff and I'm writing it out. I start to share it with a few key people and it excites them too. And the business plan starts to get bounced around and financials are added because I start to secure trademarks and intellectual property and pastors get excited and businessmen and investors want to meet with me. So now we have a company called GFaith that's going to build an app to connect Christians, with profits going to our military heroes, our 20 million veterans, to help them. And the whole time I'm seeing the enemy, and God's going, this is your destiny. You're going to train my people about spiritual warfare. So what's been miraculous along the way is not me, because I am who I am. I have a limited set of talents, and God made me a certain way. It's the people he puts in my life without me having to look for them that is so miraculous. And when you know God is in something is when he just drops people into your life. This is a platform for Christians to come together and communicate, and for us to coalesce and to bring our resources together as a faith, learn and connect with each other. And all along the way, we're going to kick most of the money back to our heroes. It's awesome. God's rolling. God is moving, and it's just exciting to be a part of it.
So that's the idea, and it's way smarter than I could ever come up with. I have very little background in anything technology. I can barely program DirecTV in my house. And God gave us, Holy Spirit downloaded this idea on a treadmill. You heard the video, and so we start working on this app, and it takes us about a year, and we liquidate all of our extra money, which isn't much because we made $200 in the house. So, but we moved to Florida, and with the amazing people at Tyndall Air Force Base offered my wife a job, and we moved to Florida, and I put my head down and I started building this company called GFaith, because the dream of GFaith is to create a giant revenue engine for Christians. A. B, to connect Christians all over the world and bring them Christian content everywhere, and C, to throw 70% of that money back to the least of these and veterans that need it. But part of that is going to be training our veterans and other people about spiritual warfare. It's too good to be me. I wish I could climb it. Listen, I'm a C student from University of Georgia. I barely got out of Terry Business School. So we start to work on this app, and it's very expensive. So we say, we're going to make a place for Christians to connect. They're being censored online, and we need to make money, and we need to create a place for them. And it's a long road to do that. We work on trademarks, intellectual property, like I said in the video, and burning through money. And all of a sudden, about 5 months ago, the app prototypes are up. They're not great. And the Holy Spirit hasn't wavered. He said, you're going to build GFaith. It's going to be $1 billion company, and you are going to throw 70% of money back to these and veterans. I said, okay, but I have 2 crappy apps. There's nothing I can do with these. And in walks a man named Josh Reed into the place I'm working, and Josh has been working on a phenomenal product that'll connect Christians by himself in his living room. Didn't know him. Doesn't really like to talk much, but he's been a brilliant coder that's been building this app essentially that is unbelievable. It turns into a video product, and it's going to connect Christians and bring video and gospel content to people all over the planet eventually. And that's what Josh has been building. And we meet because he meets and he says, I hear you've been building an app. You have 5 minutes. And we sit down and we start a partnership. And now GFaith is truly born. And this is just a matter of months, really. And in fact, the legal paperwork is just fresh, like this week. So this brings us current. And I know everyone's probably itching to go, but a few weeks ago, I think, you know what, I need to get we've got to create a video product, and we're going to create a huge company. We're going to throw money back to Christians all over the world and share the gospel of Jesus Christ. We have a better product than most video products out there. Who do I call? And I sent an email to Pat Robertson's people at CBN, Gordon Robertson. He shouldn't have answered me. I'm sitting there on my phone on a Friday, and the Holy Spirit tells me, contact the Robertson family. I'm like, okay. Dear Gordon, CEO of $1 billion Christian company, I am a guy in Panhandle, Florida. And in 32 minutes, Gordon Robertson himself hits me back and says, I'm connecting you with the lead producer for 700 Club and CBN News. That was just 4 weeks ago, on a Friday afternoon. 32 minutes, he says, we want this story. And his producer hooks me up, calls me, they pre-interview me, and CBN flies down with a news crew, and they do a full video biopic about what we're building at GFaith for people of faith and to connect Christians. And Josh and I just filmed it, so there's a picture of that. So that's going to be played. The story's going to be on their news outlet and online in front of 1 million people in a few weeks. We've got people interested in other major news outlets. We have top 10 banks that are verbally interested. Huge fast food companies are interested in sponsoring us to help us with no strings attached, to push us out to Christians because they realize the market share. So all of this to say, God can take an addict overdosed on a Thursday morning, and he can do that. And he's not even starting yet. I am the least of these. I'm a 2.98 GPA from University of Georgia who overdosed on a Thursday morning. And if he can do that with me, imagine what he can do with you.
Amen.
And we haven't even gotten started. We're going to help our heroes. They're coming home from battle, and they're experiencing spiritual warfare. They see it, but they need help with addiction and PTSD and suicide. There's 22 a day. That number is unacceptable, and we're coming after it. We're coming after them. So Josh has built this product. It's a video product, and you're able to go into any video that a pastor will upload and bring the gospel message and search it. So if you see a video, if you're thinking, man, I'm lonely and I need help with loneliness, you can put it in the search bar, and Josh's product will pull out a clip that says loneliness, and we'll eventually have thousands of pastors uploading the gospel message, and Christian podcasters and Christian music uploading, and we'll be sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ, and this is the launch. And it's not my company, it's God's company, it's his company. I'm a temporary steward of it. Josh and I have talked about it often. We're temporary stewards of this company, but we're excited. And so that all to say, and I think I did that in 38 minutes, that, like I said, if he can do this stuff with us, he can do, imagine what he can do with you. What I'll say to kind of wrap up, and this is one of our pictures we used, Connect the Kingdom, our slogan. Yeah, our slogan is to connect the kingdom and bring Christians from all walks of life. We don't care about your background. We don't care about your race, your gender, your orientation. We just want you in the GFaith family. And so the connect the kingdom is just our trademark slogan. The product is launched this week at GFaith.com. And again, we're talking to big corporate sponsors, and they know we want to give. We have a charter on the website to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ and give all our money back, most of our money back to the least of these. And we're giving 70% back, and none of them have flinched yet, which is a miracle. Okay, cool. So we've had investors say we want to give you money. So once we're there on the launch and we start making revenue, we want to throw that back. But I want to close with this. There's a picture of my family. That's a picture of deliverance. That's a picture of deliverance. So the scared guy with the zombie in the back of the van, and the marriage falling apart, and the job loss, and the addiction, and the overdose, and all of that. That's what Christ does. He takes all that. He takes this rough person named Bryan Joy, and he creates that. And it's undeserved, and it's grace. And if you're feeling this way, if you're feeling anything, if you don't feel right, I don't care if you dropped to your knees and said the salvation prayer 52 times at a Baptist church, a Methodist church, if you've gone through confirmation, I don't care what you've done. If you don't feel right, if you can't stop using heroin, if you can't stop looking at pornography, if you can't stop eating, if you don't know why you're sad, if you don't know what's going on in your life, I want you to reach out to us, because we have a prayer team assembled, trained, and ready to pray with you and take you through this process. And I can't promise it's going to be easy once you go through deliverance, because in a really weird way, life has gotten hard for my wife and I, because cars break down and power goes out and air conditioning gets blown up, and life happens, and we just laugh, and laptops fall to the floor, and we laugh. Let's go get a new laptop. We got things to do. But I can promise you that your life will be a life anew, and that there's nothing like the Holy Spirit. I did, like I said, every drug on the planet, and I did a lot of them, and I felt good. But what I feel now when the Holy Spirit comes into me is unbelievable. It's 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times what I ever experienced. So if you have that hole in your life, and if you've got that facade, and everyone thinks you're a perfect Christian or you're not, your online life, your Facebook life, all that stuff, if everyone thinks you're perfect but you still need help, you reach out to us privately. Bryan, Bryan at GFaith.com, Bryan at GFaith. We'll put you in touch with a ministry team, a prayer team. Yeah, and then that's what we're here to do. So I'll leave you with that verse. And yeah. God bless y'all. Thank you. I want to open questions, or if you guys have any questions at all. I don't know if that's normally a format here, but no.
But so from kind of what we talked about yesterday, a smaller group.
Yep.
If, it's not for. That's kind of like, it's a ministry. It's not really like, you're not starting a church. You're starting a ministry for people that are going to churches, but you need the support, right? Like for churches to kind of sign up and get involved to.
We do. Yeah, that's great.
So say you are a member of a church and you talk to a pastor. What's the most basic thing you could explain GFaith is it like check out? Like obviously you're going to say check out Facebook,
right?
Check out social media, check out the website, but.
Thank you.
The most basic way to just introduce it where it doesn't sound overly complicated.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, man. I was in share mode tonight, so I'm never in sales mode. But so thank you for reminding me to bring this up. So at GFaith.com, the video service, our first few years of revenue are going to be brought through subscriptions of pastors and churches. So for a very small fee, each church can join GFaith. It's all free for all of us to view the content, like YouTube. It's all free. But for pastors and churches, for a very small fee per month to join, upload all their sermons, we apply all our amazing technology to it, and we're able to share clips of their best message all over social media and by cell phone. But it is. So if you're a church member and you have a pastor or are a pastor, the best thing you can do to support us is just do a small subscription with us. And then, like, for the rest of the universe, it's going to be free. And as we build that, and as we go after the Baptist churches and the Methodist churches on a larger scale, we'll create a company for God. So yeah, that's how it's going to roll. Thanks. And the exciting thing for Josh and I is it's not about we're going to go off and like the rest of the tech guys and get a Tesla. I mean, that's not where our heart is. This guy's got the ugliest truck ever. He's rebuilding. It's the ugliest red truck. It's like Sam Walton. It's the ugliest thing ever. Yeah, the character, sure. But we're dying to find groups to help the least of these, to give them money and resources and to train them in this topic, but more, even on a bigger scale, to feed people. This guy keeps saying, I just want to give a giant check to Compassion International. I want to give the biggest check in the history of Compassion International from GFaith. And so that's how it's going to start, is churches around the globe are going to do a small subscription from their pastors, and then we're going to give all this content for free immediately. So thanks for mentioning it. Thanks. Yeah.
So how is GFaith going to Perfect. How is GFaith going to discern the messages that are put on this website? Because there's so much false teaching and deceitful messages out there now.
Yeah, it's not a small undertaking. It's twofold, and Josh can vigorously keep me on track here because he's the brilliant coder. But we're going after certain denominations at a time that we know are doctrinally sound at a core level, right? And then we do partnerships, and they upload videos, and then we've got technology that'll be able to look at every single word inside that message, which is the kind of the secret sauce of GFaith. So it's a twofold, and it'll be eyeballs on videos. If something is not doctrinally, scripturally sound, it's coming down. I mean, so this is God's business. I mean, it literally is not my business. So we have a responsibility to protect the content that's going out there, and that it has to align with the gospel of Jesus Christ in the Old Testament. It just has to. So that's where we're going. So it's a combination of technology and eyeballs. Yeah.
I was just interested in all the spirits that you see. Like, why do you see them, and what do you do about it? What is the purpose? Why does God allow you to see that?
Wow, that's a good question. That's one that my wife has taught me in the recent months and weeks because it's very difficult. So I see spirits every day. And I don't talk about it much because we're building a business, right? I'm not going to investors and say, "Hey, what's on your head?" Give me $2 million. It's a fine line between the collared guy, But to answer your question, I see them every day. I see them on Christians and non-Christians. I see them on famous Christians, and I see them on Lost. I see them on prostitutes on TV. I see them on people everywhere. And that's not a message of fear. It's just a message of, okay, we all have something. And so the enemy kind of comes around us and will get in our ear, right? And wants to get us to do that something. So whether it's eat 50 Big Macs until he kills you because he seeks to destroy and kill us, or whether it's to go to that strip club and cheat on your wife, he's in our ear because he knows human nature. And so I believe I'm able to see it because it's kind of a wake-up call, I think, because churches and ministries don't want to talk about it. Meanwhile, our kids are addicted and overdosing, and not even as dramatic, right? Our marriages are north of 50% falling apart, and depression. I mean, the clinics are filling up, and most of that is a spiritual problem. So while I'm just one man that's really not a great orator, I believe that I'm able to see it so I can start describing what I'm seeing and training people, quite frankly. That's it. Yeah. Did that answer your question? I'm not sure. Okay. Anyone else? Hey, Kathy.
Good and bad spirits, and when did that start?
Oh, that's a good question. That's for the recording too. They want to hear you. Yeah.
Do you see good and bad spirits, entities, and when did it start? Was it before or after your addiction? Like when you were a child, did you see this?
No, it's a great question, Cassie. I just started seeing that day right before my 42nd birthday. Had never seen anything before. Completely zero. Never, no weird supernatural experiences. Up until very recently, I've only seen into the demonic and the evil, and that's very prevalent. I mean, I see that every day, every hour of every day. I see those things. But the PTSD is gone, and the fear is gone, and God, Christ healed that. But just recently, I have started seeing our side. And I'm not seeing angels and stuff, but I'm seeing God is starting to show me glimpses of things that are happening that are our side, and it's pretty awesome. Yeah, it's amazing. So that's the balance. I asked for it. Come on. Throw me a bone. I need a little bit of balance here. So, anything else?
What else?
Yep.
Thank you, Laura.
Do you know why the demon's only attached to you and not your wife or your child?
Oh, the best question. How old are you?
I'm 11.
You're 11. The best that's the best theological question I've had in months. That's awesome. So why did the demons attack me or even attach to me and not other people? Part of it was because I'm supposed to see this stuff. That's the small part of the answer. And I'm supposed to be having these talks and to train Christians. But the bigger part is personal responsibility. So while I'm called to train, James will know, he was in my deliverance, that in deliverance, they call them open doors that you can open. And you can do things in your life and you can inherit things. More importantly, it's behavior. You can do things in your life that open a door to the enemy. And so it's personal responsibility. So all the things I had done, I think there's 9 doors. I think I had 9. I opened them all. I had done every drug. I had done, I had a rejection, and rejection is the biggest one out there. Spirit of rejection. Family had rejected me, and I was crushed that my own blood family had. And it's still very difficult, but when you can realize that it's a spirit of rejection, cast it out. There's power in that. So I had done things and experienced things that opened those doors. So that's why they attached to me. I joined. You may not know this, but the Masons. I joined some groups like that, and I'd kicked open every door because I couldn't do anything halfway. Right? There's 9. I'm gonna open them all. And so it's personal responsibility. So as you're growing older, to really focus on, to not be fearful, right? Because if you're a Christian and you're following Christ, you're powerful. Like, you are powerful. You're more powerful than that stuff out there. It's going to run from you. Like, it's scared of you. But to keep your life pure and holy and just to be obedient to God, and there's no fear in it, right? It's strength, actually. So it's a good question.
I can tell you have authority over them, and Jesus said you did. It's the only way.
It's awesome.
I'm 135 pounds, and I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but I'm up there. And every knee shall bow in the name of Jesus.
That's right.
And they will to me, because I say it in the name of Jesus, not because of Phyllis Whalen, but in the name of Jesus.
I can add to that.
So.
Phyllis, that's good. So I can add to that, and this is maybe a visual, a thing that'll stick in everyone's head because it certainly sticks in mine. When I'm fully obedient in God, which is, I hope, most of the time lately, and when I'm aware and I'm all in and I'm worshiping and I'm in for Him and I'm all in. When I see something and I tell it to leave, it flees. And when I'm not, and when there's things, to answer your question, if there's things in my life I've let slide, they laugh. They laugh and they just go. So
and we can teach you in this course I'm teaching what you need to do daily to keep the
that's good
enemy
stuff.
away from you.
Yeah.
I can tell you that.
But it's really, like I said, I can't say it enough. It's not a message of fear. It's a message of empowerment. And we're children of God. I mean, I'm a child of the Most High God. I'm like, He created me to do what we're doing. He created you to do what you're doing. I mean, so walk in some power and some swagger and don't have fear. So that's what I would say. So, all right. Well, appreciate y'all. Thank you. Yeah.